So thank you for being here, Stephanie, for our second part of emotional intelligence, the advanced. You're part of the advanced level of Golden Eagle leaders, right?
Yes.
Yes, awesome. So I'm glad you're here. And you know the way this is one of my favorite sessions to present on. I think
Mhm.
it's some really good stuff, and we're just going to dig right in because we can do that. So I had this really interesting icebreaker to do, just to kind of get us talking, and it was actually the icebreaker is kind of tied to the session itself, and it's this one game. It's called Who's in the Room. Have you ever heard of that?
Yes.
So you're supposed to just say, I'm going to ask you a quick question, and you just let me know, does this apply to you? So if I say, who in the room has the messiest apartment or house? So you're saying, is that you or not you?
Not me.
hmm So who in the room would make the best TV game show host?
That's me.
Yes, I love that. Um, who in the room um, gets the most calls on a daily basis? Do you get a lot of calls, you think?
I get a lot of, what do you call it, scam calls or
Yes.
not bill collectors. Like, and they like, hello, Stephanie, you do not know me. Stop pretending like you know me.
Well, I'm the same way. Just as we were starting, I got a phone call, and it wasn't even from someone that I know. So I don't get a lot of personal calls anymore. Most people who know me, if they really they text me first, and then there are very few people I talk on the phone these days anymore. So I don't think I get a lot of calls. So um, so who in the room has Googled themselves on who in the room has Googled themselves the most times? Have you ever Googled yourself?
I have.
What'd you find out? Did you find anything interesting?
I found out that there are a lot of Stephanie Greens.
I can believe that. I can totally believe that. Okay, I'm gonna ask you do one last one. Let's see. I'm gonna get a good one. Who in the room considers themselves to be the most intellectual?
Me.
Okay, loving it, loving it. One of the reasons why I asked that is because today's session is it's emotional intelligence part two. We're going to do a quick review of part one, a very, very quick review. But a lot of this has to do with perception,
Hmm.
self-perception. And so I was asking you these questions, and you didn't know what I was going to ask you. And you basically had to ask yourself, does that apply to me? In other words, how do you perceive yourself?
So,
What do you
yes.
think of yourself? So that
Hmm.
was one of the reasons why I wanted to ask you that, just to kind of get your juices flowing about what we're going to be talking about today. But just to give a quick review about what emotional intelligence is, and we've covered this in the first session, it is the ability to identify and manage your own emotions and the emotions of others. So I like to stop there and say manage, not control. You can
Right.
manage, you can manage your own emotions, you can manage the emotions of others, but you can't control. Some people can hide their emotions, but they're still
Hmm.
feeling it. You still feel it on the inside. So this is a professional skill. I like to emphasize that we all need to develop to be a great leader, to be a great professional, to be on a team. So I think we just need to relay to people that this is something you can learn. Emotional intelligence includes three skills: emotional awareness, the ability to harness emotions and apply them to tasks like thinking and problem solving, and the ability we missed this, something's missing from that I'll have to fix it. The ability to manage emotions. Oh, well, sorry, emotional awareness. So we got
As
emotional.
opposed to turning them off and turning them on.
Yes, you have to.
When to turn them on and when to turn them off.
When to turn them on, because believe it or not, your emotions are with you at all times. But there are some times when it's actually good to show some emotion in a professional environment, and others when it's not. It's good to show passion for a project or be happy or joy, and sometimes to show others that something is not working right, because sometimes if they can't read your emotion, they think everything's fine. Sometimes you need to show in a healthy way, like that you dislike or you're frustrated or you're not satisfied with something. So those three parts, the ability to harness your emotions, to apply them, and to manage them. Oh, good to see you.
Sometimes I kind of find it hard to hide my emotions, because a lot of people say you ought to see your facial expressions when you talk. And I tell them, I can't help what my face does when I talk to you.
But that is so true. You may not be able to control it, but I always say, just like the first point, we should be aware. I think and if I could just tell you this, just as people of color, now that I'm actually seeing you, I try not to make any assumptions, but as people of color, sometimes we get mislabeled and categorized a lot because people misread what we're doing. I just got through doing I lead the podcast here, and we did a podcast I did a podcast yesterday with 5 powerful Black women, and the podcast was entitled Black Women Removing the Superwoman Cape. And they talked a lot about folks thinking that they were always so strong. And so they would pile more and more on them. And one of the points that came out was that they have to start showing vulnerability. And we don't oftentimes feel like we can show that we're vulnerable or that we're dissatisfied or something is difficult or challenging. And so they talked about how important that is. So this is just all emphasizing, even in a professional environment, sometimes it's good to show a little emotion. We just need to know when and how to manage that. All right. So there's these 3 major components of emotional intelligence. We covered the first 2 in session 1, the consciousness of context, which is the environment in which the leader or the followers work in generally. I like to describe this as, imagine you walked into somebody's house and nobody was there, but it was completely decorated. It had, the plants up and everything. Imagine walking into an empty home and then being able to determine who lived there just based upon the environment. You can see whether or not they kept their house clean, or what kind of decorations they have and stuff. That context. Can you read the room and see and learn some things just from being in that room? I think that's very important. Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Welcome.
I'm fine.
Welcome. So we were just reviewing some of the 3 major components for emotional intelligence from session 1, and I was just describing the consciousness of context, which is like imagine going and somebody goes into your house, but no one is there. And what would they learn just from observing the house? They would say, something about your values and your taste and your habits and things. So that's kind of consciousness of context. Consciousness of self, knowing who you are, what you stand for, your strengths, your limitations, and how your answers and actions can affect others. Believe it or not, this is actually the most difficult aspect of emotional intelligence. It's really difficult for people to see themselves. Sometimes you got to get really quiet to know what your values are. You got to get quiet. You got to be honest too. You have to start telling the truth about who you are. And so that you can know about your own strengths and own limitations, because sometimes we have to admit things about ourselves that maybe we don't like. But it's a part of leadership. It's a part of growth. It's a part of being a professional.
Right.
And then the last part, consciousness of others, which is one of the things that we're going to talk about today, is you are aware of and attuned to those with whom you are working with in leadership. So just imagine again, you are inserted into a team dynamic with a bunch of people you don't know, and they're all different. Are you able to learn something about how they, who's the shy one? Who's the outgoing one? Who's the aggressive one? Who's this? We all, our lives teach us certain things about personalities and people and how they move and flow in the world. Do you have that ability? So we're going to deal with this one a little bit more today. Hey there, Maribel. Thanks, welcome, and we're glad you're joining us.
Thank you. Hi, Keith.
Hi.
Maribel.
So, and just so you know that at the end of the presentation, I'm going to take attendance, and that will simply be you entering your name and your student ID number, if you have it, and I hope you do, into the chat. That's all you got to do. That's how I'm going to take attendance.
Okay.
So if
Perfect. Thank you.
Actually, if you're, it's because that's coming, if you want to get ready for that, you can go ahead and do that and just put that in the chat. Okay, so let's learn more about you and how you are attuned to others. And we're going to do this by simply looking at the tool of optimism. We're going to look at your level of optimism. Okay, so there's a lot of ways we can explore our consciousness about other people. We're just happen to be using this one very specific tool of optimism. Okay. So, and this is kind of the interactive part. And I almost wish you all could have, Glennie and Maribel could have helped them with our icebreaker, who's in the room. That would have been a curious, interesting to hear your responses to that. But I'd like to know from you, and you can always just tell me just the thoughts that pop off your head. How do you define optimism?
I define it by looking at, just because things are negative, I like to look at things as being positive. Even though it's negative, I always try to look for the good inside of everything and every person.
Yes.
I also agree with Stephanie in that being optimistic that something is going to work itself out. Well, I shouldn't use that in the definition. I shouldn't use the word in the definition, but always looking for a different outcome. It may look like it's a negative, but again, looking at the positive or seeing what you can learn from a situation or from something as well.
Mm-hmm. Anything you want to add, Maribel?
I agree with Stephanie and Glennie. I hope I said your name right. But I see optimism as also maybe like hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
I think those are all on point. So I'm going to offer to you this as like a formal way to think about optimism. So first, see it as a disposition or tendency to look on the more favorable side of events or conditions and to expect the most favorable outcome. That part is really key. What are you expecting? To expect the most favorable outcome. Second, the belief that good ultimately predominates or will prevail in the world over evil in the world. And third, the belief that goodness pervades reality. So it's, in other words, what ultimately do you believe things are going to turn out? What are you expecting? And those are some things we're going to explore that a little bit in this session to look at and learn more about our consciousness about other people. Okay, so I want you to, if you have all you need is a piece of paper and a pen, and I want you to think about your family members. Think about your parents, your grandparents, your siblings. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. And your friends, and decide which characteristic they generally display and write names in the appropriate column. So just have one column says optimistic, one column that says pessimistic, and just your gut, your immediate reaction about these people, and it doesn't have to be a whole lot of people, but just think of the 5 people that are closest to you, and just you decide, are they optimistic or pessimistic? I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that.
How many are we supposed to?
Maybe about 5 or 6 people.
Okay.
And the better you know them, the more effective it'll be for this exercise. Okay, who is optimistic and who is pessimistic? So as you're thinking and writing, finishing up that list and categorizing them, I want you to think about what are the kinds of statements do you often hear them say or make? And how do these statements impact those around them, specifically you? So whether you've said that they are optimistic or pessimistic, and we haven't really gotten into a definition of pessimism yet, and we're going to, but what statements, what kinds of things if you've had somebody as optimistic, what kind of things do they say? And if you've categorized somebody as pessimistic, what kind of things do the pessimistic family members or people in your life say? And anyone wants to volunteer a response, that'd be great.
Keith, I have, well, the names I put down were all under optimistic.
Okay.
Because the way I looked at it was, which one do they fit into most often?
Mm-hmm.
However, there are times when there may be a pessimistic statement, in that the issue would be like someone's not gonna change, or, well, I didn't really want to, I'm trying not to give too much information. It's like a personal.
Yeah, you don't have to give, I don't want you to give personal details. How about how do their statements make you or others feel? When you say they're optimistic, how does their optimism, how does it impact those others around them?
Well, sometimes with the statement that I was trying to get out and not give too much information about, it didn't make me feel good inside, because I would like the person that stated it to be able to see beyond what they were seeing at the time, and see that there is a ray of hope, or a chance that the person will do better and see the light,
Okay.
so to speak, but at least give them an opportunity and not cut them off right away. So this was a conversation about, well, I'm not going to deal with this person or these people anymore because, and I'm saying, well, everyone has to learn. They don't know right now, so give them an opportunity to learn it first, and then give them a chance.
Gotcha.
So I'm sorry it went roundabout, but it
No,
was
no, no.
something
I understand what
recent
you're,
that happened.
I do get what you're talking about. Yeah. Thanks for sharing. How about you, Stephanie?
You said you just want the 5 names of people?
Well, no, you don't have to share their names.
I want
What
to,
kind of things do they say? So if you've got somebody that's optimistic, what kind of things they say that lets you know that they're optimistic? And if you said they're pessimistic, what kind of things do they say that lets you know that they're pessimistic?
um, so the optimistic, right, the optimistic. They say things like, I'm so proud of you because they know where I come from.
Mm,
Um, you got this. I'm rooting for you. Come
mhm,
on, girl. You
mhm.
know you're stronger than you think you are.
Right, right.
And so with those things, and I'm just saying it was my parental unit,
Mhm,
before my dad went home with the Lord,
mhm.
um, my pastor and my older sister. So they always cheer me on, which is one reason why I received so many accolades when I graduated in my bachelor's, because I was thinking about my dad.
Mhm, mhm,
So, and the pessimistic, I'm gonna say it, my sister was the daughter number 2 and her daughter.
mhm.
They say um like things that try to put me down. You can't do that. You doing too much. But actually I wasn't, you know.
Mm,
Um, I was showing that I can rise from above my situations, which I did. And she didn't know the magnitude of the hurt that was in me, because that thing stayed stagnant in me for a while.
mm.
Yeah, but yeah, they would say little hurtful things.
Yeah, thank
They're
you.
growing because I be praying on them.
That's all right. That's all
Growing.
right. How about you, Maribel? Do you have a response?
I think for optimistic, I kind of agree with like some of them where it's like, yes, like you can do this, or
Mhm,
just try, or just think like, I think for a lot of times, like my dad will always be like, it's okay, and there's always like something good that comes out of it. So just always trying to see, just always making sure that there's always like positive to the end. For pessimistic, I one of the people that really stood out was a coworker. And
mm,
it was always like, no, like we can't, or like any idea. It's like, no, let's just, just try something else. And um, so I think that really, I think for him, it was mainly not even like trying and just seeing like the negative or just automatically assuming, like the worst.
yes. Wow. Thank you. Now keep those in mind. Thank you all for sharing. And I'm go and I appreciate the fact that you didn't want to reveal too much, because that's not what it was about. But I want you to keep that in mind as we move forward. So here we go. So the what statements we talked about, what statements you hear when they're optimistic, and we talked about the ones where there's pessimistic. Now what I want you to do is I want you to think about this. Why must you consider the fact that your values and your habits and your traditions, your failures and even your successes in developing as a leader are all connected to emotional intelligence? In other words, all of these things, your family, your values, your habits, your traditions, your failures, your success, they all will make up who you are as a leader, and they all speak to your emotional intelligence. That's probably obvious, but we just want to make that clear as we're moving forward.
Mhm.
So our first lesson about leadership really is that emotional health and success typically are learned consciously and subconsciously from our close family and friends, those close family members to us. So we're looking at the tool of pessimism and optimism to learn about how we are engaging with other people. So you all just listed some people who are close to you who are either pessimistic or optimistic. And what we're saying is that because of your proximity to those people, their pessimism or their optimism are really a part of you.
Mhm.
And because it is a part of you, it will reflect or guide how you see other people, your consciousness of others. So this simple thing, such as someone said, I got somebody in my life who says, you can make it, you go on, you do it. You will absorb that, and it will in turn impact the way you will engage other people. So I think that you probably got that, but let me go on a little bit more. Now we had these really interesting videos. I'm going to show you. Let me stop sharing here, because I want to show you just one video, and I think I still have it queued up here. So hopefully it won't. Yes. So I like movies, and I like I'm a sports guy, but sometimes these sports movies, they can have some really powerful lessons in it. And this is going to be from a movie that I really like. So I'm going to pull this up here. There it is. So please let me know if you cannot see or hear this. And we'll talk afterwards.
All right, man, listen. I'm Gary, you're Julius. Let's get some particulars and just get this over with, all right?
Particulars?
Yeah.
No matter what I tell you, you ain't gonna never know nothing about
Hey,
me.
listen, I ain't running any more of these 3 days, okay?
Well, what I got to say you really don't want to hear, because honesty ain't too high up on your people priority list, right?
Honesty? You want honesty? All right, honestly, I think you're nothing. Nothing but a pure waste of God-given talent. You don't listen to nobody, man. Not even Doc or Boone. Shiver push on the line every time, man. You blow right past them. Push them, pull them, do something. You can't run over everybody in this league. And every time you do, you leave one of your teammates hanging out to dry. Me in particular.
Why should I give a hoot about you? Huh? Or anybody else out there? You want to talk about a waste, you the captain, right?
Right.
Captain's supposed to be the leader, right?
Right.
You got a job?
I have a
You
job.
been doing your job?
I've been doing my job.
Then why don't you tell your white buddies to block for Red better? Because they have not blocked for him worth a plug nickel, and you know it. Nobody plays, yourself included. I'm supposed to wear myself out for the team? What team? No, what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna look out for myself, and I'm gonna get mine.
See, man, that's the worst attitude I ever heard.
Attitude reflect leadership, Captain.
Okay. Were you able to listen to that?
Yes.
Okay, so here's what I want you to do. Earlier, we were talking about what the consciousness of context is. I said, imagine going into the house and there's nobody there. What will you learn about the people who live there just based upon what you see? I want you to imagine you just walked into that whole situation. Now, there's a lot of complicated stuff going on in that scene. I want you to read those people, those two people in there, and you tell me something about them. What do you read? What's going on here? And you only know a clip. You don't know their names. You've just been planted in this situation. What's going on? Tell me something that you've gleaned. You sense about those two guys there.
Oh,
I couldn't get off mute.
I don't know their name.
Oh, go ahead, Stephanie.
I don't know their name, but the one from the left, it's like, to me, he has like, he's kind of upset because he has all this talent and it's not being acknowledged by the guy he was talking to and the one on the team, the person that was talking to him. So now he feels like, because you all not acknowledging me, I'm going to continue to do what I want to do.
Okay.
I forgot the other part I was going to say.
Anybody else?
I saw that race played a factor
Yes,
in
yes.
the conversation. And
Now, what made you think that? What did you see or hear?
well, the uh, the black man, the black guy, he
Mhm.
stated that he stated to the white person, I guess he was the quarterback, stated to him that why don't you tell your white counterparts basically to block for a particular person.
Mhm.
And
And how did you know who was the quarterback and who was not? What was going on there? You
well,
said,
in terms of that, because the black guy spoke about being a leader, that him being the leader. Aren't you the leader?
mhm, mhm.
So, and for him to approach him the way that he did, to me, I would have assumed he was the quarterback anyway, the leader, because my sons play football. So,
Okay.
but yeah. So, and then towards the end of the conversation, when the black guy said to the white quarterback that you know that they have not been blocking for this particular person, then that person's face changed. The
Mhm.
white guy's face changed at that point.
Yeah,
And
what do
so
you mean by
he
his
had
face
to think
changed?
it seems like he had to think about it, or he realized it at that point that you know, you're right.
Mhm.
That is true. Now the black guy, in terms of him talking, he said, "I'm gonna get mine," but you know, it's a team,
Right.
so they're all gonna have to work together, learn to work together and play together.
Mhm.
So that was to me more on the pessimistic side, in terms of just seeing that one side, um, and not being able to, you know, they come to some consensus or agreement on what to do together to to help the team be effective in playing football.
Gotcha. How about you, Maribel? Did you come away with anything? More importantly, and all of you can respond to this, what did you see happening emotionally on both sides?
I saw, well, I think Lenny was like just right on point with everything because, so I completely agree with, you know, both of her statements. Definitely, race played a part when we were looking at the clip.
Mhm.
And then I also saw like the pessimistic on him as well. And just, I saw some frustration, or I can sense like some like frustration
Mhm.
from him. And then just, I think I feel like I just trying to, um, you know, work him down, I guess.
What would you imagine is like their relationship? Like, I mean, they're clearly on a team, but beyond that, what do you think? And this is to all of you.
Um,
I mean, are they
I
friends? Do they know each other? What do you, I mean,
I think just, I mean, I could sense, I mean, from the short clip that they were just like teammates. I'm not sure if they're like friends though.
mhm.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't know because it could go either way.
Yeah.
Probably could
That,
know each other,
mhm.
and then they, you know, they probably teammates as well.
Mhm. Mhm. Very good points. Very good points. Let me pull back up my
I was thinking that they're probably just teammates, not necessarily friends. That's what I was thinking, because you know, usually your friend will attempt to listen a little
mm,
bit more intently, and you know, you would I don't know. We just saw a clip, so I would think that with a friend, you would try to have a conversation and not necessarily just go after them. But it looked like uh, he he was really frustrated and perturbed by what's been going on the team.
Right. You're exactly right. So you all can see my screen again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were just reflecting and answering the question that's on the screen. How do you think the movie clip represented consciousness of others? You all were responding that when we were talking about um, some of the obvious things. And and first of all, let me stop this here to say, I think sometimes we've gotten to the point where it's uncomfortable to talk about certain things, but the goal is to sometimes you have to like state the very obvious things so you can so people know that you are aware. Sometimes when you are leading and you're a part of a team, and if it appears you can't even see the problem, then the people that you're involved with, the team, they lose faith in you because they feel like you don't even have the ability to see the very obvious things. So I appreciate you saying, okay, there's a racial component here. I'm not completely sure what it is, just so that you are aware of it. That's important. So then you can move on to other things. They're on a football team, they're arguing, they're frustrated with each other. Some of those things are very obvious. And I was asking and pressing you about these kinds of things because it's important, again, when you're working in a team to be able to see these things. And for others, especially if you're leading, for them to know that you see those things. If you imagine working for a boss or employer and there's a problem and they don't even see the problem, which means they're going to just keep, you know, loading on more work onto you or just whatever. So again, we're talking about perception. Are you able to at least see what the problem is, see everything that's going on? And some people, believe it or not, just aren't able to do that. So I really appreciate you all thinking and stretching yourselves to just think about that. So we talked about the conscience of others and that optimism and that pessimism. So I appreciate you doing that. So optimism is a learned behavior. So we're driving this home and I'm probably beating a dead horse, as they say, but your ability to think favorably, your ability to think that things will ultimately turn out well is a learned behavior. And I would say to you, that is a necessary attribute of leadership. If you are leading a team, your team needs to believe that you think things are going to turn out well. That's a really, they're like, if you don't even believe it's going to happen, then they're like, well, why am I trying? So they need to know that the person that is leading them trusts the process or trusts them or believe there's a way that this can um, turn out favorably. So that's why we're saying that this is a learned behavior and we have to exercise that muscle of optimism. So we're going to practice a little bit of professional optimism, I call it. So I hope you still have your pen and paper, because what I want you to do is want to go back to something you started doing earlier when you were listing those people who are in your inner circle and you classified them as either optimistic or pessimistic. And I said, well, say some of the things that they say. What we're going to do is we're going to practice professional optimism we're going to rewrite some things. So I want you to take these pessimistic statements and I want you to either restate them in an optimistic way. Say the exact same thing. So here's the message is, it seems like I put myself in the same unhealthy situation over and over. I will never learn. How can you say, and I know this may seem a little abstract, but how can you say the same thing, but in a slightly or optimistic way? And when you're ready, you can just offer one of your suggestions.
It's pretty good one here. I had a couple of ways. I think I was looking at it and saying, it seems like I put myself in the same unhealthy situations at times. I recognize this and I'm still learning and growing.
Okay. Yes, I'm still learning and growing. Yes. Anyone else? I like that.
I just had to just change the end.
Okay, how did you
It
change the
seems
end?
like I put myself in the same unhealthy situations over and over. How did I have it? She said, or what the person said, I will never learn. I said, but I will learn.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of another one. Huh.
That's a good point. You know, you focused on that last part, and that's a good part to focus on changing. How about you? Did you have any changes or a different way of saying it, Maribel?
I think for me it was I have put myself over and over in these situations at work. And I'm trying, I guess for me it was I'm trying how not to be in that unhealthy situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good. How about this one? This event is going to fail. We are really unprepared and no one is doing their part. Be completely optimistic.
This, do we have to name a specific event?
No, you don't have to.
Okay, so I guess for me it would be this event is not going to fail.
Okay.
We are prepared and everybody is going to do their part. It's going to be a great event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, imagine you're talking to your team and you're motivating them. How about even maybe in your family or your kids? How do you motivate and convince them? I like that one, Maribel. Anyone else?
Even though we are really unprepared and no one is doing their part, this event will still turn out well.
Okay.
Stephanie almost took mine. So I was going to say, even though we don't feel prepared to pull off this event, we will work together as a team and the event will be a success.
Yes, I like that.
Mhm.
I like that a lot. You know, I would look at in a statement like this, I like flip those negative words in that first part of it. This event is going to fail. You know, in other words, and another way of thinking it is perhaps something like we're going to do our best, and we've been working hard, but we'll put our best foot forward, and you know, everyone in the end will, what to say, no one is doing their part. You know, whatever your contribution is, I'm sure it's going to be enough and this is going to be great. You know what I'm saying? So you have to work it a little bit. But okay, we'll do just a few more. I can't make it to the meeting. I'm too busy.
I will try to make it to the meeting even though I'm too busy.
Okay, that's certainly better than that. I can't make it.
Hmm. Even though I'm busy, I will try to make it to the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I don't like to use try too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's either I will or I will not. So, okay, I will say, I am really busy at the moment. I will do my best to make a portion of the meeting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite reimaginings of this one, someone said, I have a lot on my plate right now. So if I don't make the meeting, I'll be sure to follow up with you at a later date to get more information.
That's a good one.
You know?
That's
Mhm.
that's perfect. Oh, I had thought about that, but I didn't pull it all together. So that's perfect. I like that much better.
Mhm. Let's try this one. We have always, I'm sorry, that shouldn't be done. I'm sorry. We have always done things this way. We can change the process now. What was happening here, Keith? Oh my goodness. That was supposed to say we have always done things this way. We can't change the process now. I don't know why how that T made it over there. That misplaced apostrophe T.
And it's that we can't change it's supposed to say we can't change the process.
Yeah, we can't change the process now. That's what it's supposed to say. I apologize.
No, it's okay.
So you have someone comes to you and says, we've always done it this way. We can't change things now. What is another way of saying that?
Maybe we can see what other alternative or what other ways we can do this now, even though we've always done it this way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Although we have always done things this way, let's view our options
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and see if there's another more effective way that will work for us
Yes.
now.
There you go. I'm liking that one.
There's more than one way to skin a cat. Let's see if we could change the process.
An example that someone gave that I think worked really says, we may have done things a particular way in the past, but we're willing to try something new, and I hope you are too. Something along those lines. You know, we're excited about trying something new. Okay. So what we're trying to get at here with this whole thing with all of these, let me pull my screen back out of here like this. These different examples is that in professional environments, you want the optimism to come through, and it's guided by who you are emotionally. So that's already there, and it comes out in the negativity, it comes out in the way we say things. And one of the main points we want to emphasize is that when we're engaging others, you have to read other people to understand the best way to share and to communicate with them. Know who you're engaging, know who you're talking with. And I think particularly in professional environments, we all want to put our best optimistic foot forward first. So that, because that's our best light. But when the time comes, just like when we're watching that video, for you to see the reality of the situation, you've got to be able to do that also. So it's not either or, but it's both and. It's, you have to see the reality of the situation, and you want to be able to be very optimistic in your presentation of some of these things, because it helps to keep your team together. It helps to help others to see, to be open to dealing with tasks and challenges and problems and things like that. So you might have any questions just about that. I know it's a kind of a interesting exercise, but I like to do that because it's something I think comes in play, like when you're writing emails and you're in meetings with people, how you phrase and how you think about things. I want you to think of it from an optimistic versus a pessimistic point of view when you're engaging someone that's challenging or a challenging situation in a professional environment. Think optimism. Let me phrase this optimistically. Let me approach this optimistically. And I think that is a great way for us to kind of think about that. Okay, so any questions?
No.
So I know that seemed really quick, but part of that was because we had actually, let me stop this here again. We had, there were 2 more video clips, and one of them wasn't working. While you all were working on your thing, I was trying to fix that other one, and for some reason it would not work. So I said, I'm not going to force it. I let it run smoothly, and I'd rather give you back your time. We've been together for a solid hour, and I'm really glad that you all joined me here while we were talking about this whole idea of consciousness of others. If you have questions, please feel free to throw them at me. But what I'd like for you to do is, if you haven't done so already, to put your name, I know some of you have done it already, put your name and your student ID number into the chat for me. And then I will have that.
Keith, I sent mine to you privately.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, and you all can send it to me privately. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So that was that's our conclusion to this really interesting, I think, session on emotional intelligence part 2. Thank you. I got it. Thank you all very much for that.
Okay, thank you. Keith,
Thank
I
you,
wanted
Keith.
to know how can we, or do we need to contact Jordan to make sure that we are able to find out if we have the checks on in our